Hello everyone, this is Finance 101 Excel in Excel, and we are now in module number 7. In this module, we're going to learn how to create and work with templates. Now, what is a template? A template is just a particular kind of workbook that can serve as a pattern for new or future worksheets or workbooks that are going to be similar. For example, they may have the same title, subtitle, the same row and column headings or titles. We're going to use the same formatting and the same formulas or calculations. Another important aspect that we're going to learn in this module is how to work with external sources. Excel can import data from different sources such as text files or information from a web page, a database table, a Word file, etc. And then finally, we're going to learn how to import and modify graphics, images, screenshots, etc. Working with these graphics is going to allow us to convey our information in a much more effective way and also to illustrate our data analysis in a more effective way. Now, all of the skills that we're going to learn with respect to working with graphics in Excel are also applicable to other Office applications, for example, Word and PowerPoint. So let's go ahead and get started with our project. The company that we're going to be working with is called Mayer Insurance, MI, and it is a retail and online outlet for individual insurance policies. Now, the owner of the company requested that all of their in-office as well as their online sale results for the last 2 years, that is 2020 and 2021, are compared among its 4 branches. Now, the challenge is that the different locations, the different branches, store their data in different formats. So as you can see here in figure 7.1, branch A stores their data as a text file, branch B uses a Microsoft Access file, C a web page, and D, the 4th branch, uses a Word file to store their data. So our challenge here is to import all these different sources of data from external sources and combine them into one single worksheet, which you see on figure E. Now, once we have this combined database, we're going to report our results, specifically the sales by category in a bar chart, as you can see in figure F. Also, we'll use SmartR to create graphics and even a hyperlink screenshot to support our work. Now, make sure that you review the requirements document on figure 7.2, as this document will give you more information about what you need to create your workbook, the sources of data, the calculations, and as well as the requirements for the chart and other parts of the workbook. It is also always a good idea to look at the sketch. In figure 7.3, we have a sketch here of the workbook, what it's going to look like when you finish your project, and also a sketch of the bar chart that we need to create. So once you've reviewed all of these documents, you're going to be ready to get started on your project. Now, let me go to MindTap to show you how we're going to access our project, right? So as usually, open the project for module 7 and you will have your start file. Make sure here that you start with this file provided by MindTap instead of using a blank workbook that you obtain directly from Excel. Also, I wanted to point out that for this particular project, we're going to have several support files. You can see 2 here, but if you click on the plus sign that says more files, as you can see, there's 3 in parentheses. So if you click on that, we have a total of 5 support files. The first one is a Word document. The second one is in Microsoft Access document. Then we have a web page, a CSV extension is for a text file. And then the last one is an image with the logo, right? The insurance company logo. All right, so I have opened my file and we are now ready to start working on our steps. So our first step is to create and save a template. We're going to create this template by assigning a title, a subtitle, and then headers for the rows, the columns, our formulas, and formats. The great thing about this template is that once we complete it, we can save it and use it later on when we develop worksheets that are similar to this one. So step 1 says start Excel. Step 2 says open a blank workbook, but we're going to be using the blank workbook provided by MindTap. So we can go ahead and skip to step number 3. All right, it says if the Excel window is not maximized, click the maximize button. Mine is called, it's already maximized, so I don't have to do anything here. Step 4, change the row height of rows 1 and 2 to 25. So we're going to select those first 2 rows, right click on the row headers, select row height, and we want to change this to 25. Press OK. So that increases the size of those rows as we're going to enter the title and subtitle in those cells. Change the height of row 3 to 45. So click on row 3, right click, row height, and we're going to type 45 and press OK. All right, next we're going to enter our titles in the template. So we're going to enter and format the titles in cells A1 and A2. Step 1, in cell A1, enter Mayor Insurance. All right, in cell A2, as our subtitle, we're going to enter Sales Analysis. Then display the page layout tab. Click the theme button on the page layout tab in the themes group. So on the far left, we're going to click on that drop down menu. And here we need to click on the parallax theme in the gallery. So scroll down to the letter P. There it is, selected. All right, so this assigns a certain theme with font, colors, etc. Step 4, click the font buttons on the page layout team themes group and then click Calibri. Right, so in the same area here in the themes group, we're going to click on fonts, drop down menu, and here we want to select Calibri. All right, perfect. So we have applied that particular font style to our worksheet. Step 5, set the column widths as follows. A, click on it, right click, column width. We want to set that to a 9 and press OK. B through G, so we're going to select columns B through G, right click on the column header, column width, we want to set this to 15. Press OK. Column H, right click on it, column width, we want to set this one equal to 8. Press OK. And then I and J, the last two, I and J, right click, we're going to change this column width to 14. Press OK. Perfect. Next, step 6, we're going to select the range A1 and A2. And click the Cell Styles button. So go to the Home tab. You want to go to the Styles group. And here we're going to click on Sales Styles button. Click on the drop-down menu. We want to select or apply the title sales style. So title, and then also says change the font size to 24. So in the font group, Home tab, we'll click on font size 24. All right, perfect. Step 7, select the range A1 to J1. A1 to J1. Click the Merge Center button on the Home tab Alignment group. So I'm in the Home tab, Alignment group, Merge and Center is this one on the far right. And that obviously merge and center that particular cell. Repeat step 7 to merge and center the range A2 to J2. So we're going to repeat this process with the subtitle. Select from A2 to J2 and we're going to click on merge and center. Perfect. We've centered then and merged the cells for the title and the subtitle of our worksheet. Step 9, select the range A1 and A2. So click on the title and subtitle. Click the fill color arrow. So this is in the Home tab. In the font group, it looks like a little paint bucket. Click on the drop down menu. And here we want to select specific color, orange accent 3, lighter 60%. It should be column 7, row 3. So count your columns 2, 4, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3. All right, so make sure that that is the correct one. Orange accent 3, lighter 60%. All right, click on it to select that particular color from the fill color gallery. Step 10, we're going to select cell A3 and it says zoom to 120%. So with the bar on the bottom right, click on the plus sign. If you are in 100%, just click on it twice and that'll take you to 120%. All right, next we're ready to enter the column titles in our template. So we're going to enter them in row 3. That's what we increase the size to that particular row as these headers are going to be quite long. So we're going to select cells A3 to J3, that entire row. and then click the wrap text button. So we're going to go to the home tab. That's where I am. In the alignment group, we want to select wrap text. So that's the one that looks like ABC on the top right corner. All right, we're wrapping the text. Also, we want to click on the center button, also in the alignment group. So center it, we wrapped it, and then we're going to apply the heading 3 sales style. So in the styles group, click on the drop-down menu for the sales styles button, and here we want heading 3. All right, so we've prepared that particular row where we're going to be entering our column titles. So step 2, type the following column titles into the appropriate cells. All right, A3, we're going to type branch, arrow to the right. B3, category, arrow to the right. C3, 2020, in dash office with capital, premiums, in $sign. All right, the next one I have the same, but for 2021. So instead of typing it again, I could just click on that cell C3, press Ctrl copy. Now click on cell D3 and press Ctrl V. And I'm going to click on that formula bar to change the 2020 to a 2021. All right, so perfect. Next, we have 2020 online premium. So I'm going to click on cell C3 again, Ctrl copy, and I'm going to paste it on E3, Ctrl V. And I'm going to change here from in office to online. All right, so let's make sure that it's correct. It says 2020 online premiums, plural, in dollars. All right, and then the last one, we're going to copy this one, Control C, Control V on cell F3. We just need to change that for a 2021. So change the 2020 to a 2021. In cell G3, we're going to type percentage increase or decrease. Move on to the right. The next one should be blank. I3 should say summary of categories. And then the last one should say 2021 totals. All right, make sure that you have spelled all your column headers correctly. You can pause the video at this point just to double check. When you're ready, we can go ahead and start entering our sample data in the template. All right, so the purpose of this step is to get our template ready for our next step, which is to start entering our formulas, functions, and calculations. The idea of first entering sample data, also known as dummy data, is making sure that our formulas and calculations are going to work correctly. So we can type values such as A, B, C, D, etc. in cells that are formatted as text, and values such as 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. in cells that are formatted as numerical values. So click on cell B4. We're going to type the letter A, since that's the category or a text cell. Click arrow to the right to C4. We're going to type the value 1. And then the instructions say to continue entering your dummy data as shown in figure 7.7. And figure 7.7 shows a number 2 in the next cell, then a 3, and then a 4. We're going to select the range C4 to F4 as we need to format these values as numerical values. So go ahead and apply the comma style in the Home tab Numbers group. We're going to click on that comma style. That's going to give you 2 decimal places, but we want 0 decimal places. So using the decrease decimal places button, click on it twice to reduce the number of decimals to 0. Now we are ready to start entering our formulas and functions. So let's start with the percentage increase or decrease in cell G4. Click on cell G4. In order to calculate a percentage change, the general formula is always your ending amount divided by your beginning amount, and then you subtract 1. So let's click on that cell, press the equal sign. We're going to open parentheses twice. So I'm going to start with the ending amount. So I need the 2021 in-office premiums. So I'm going to click on cell D4 plus the 2021 online premiums. So F4, close that parentheses, divide that by, open parentheses. Now we want the beginning amount. So I need the 2020 in-office premiums, cell C4 plus the 2020 online premium, so cell E4. We're going to close that parentheses, close that second set of parentheses, and we can subtract 1. So let's see if it worked. It should give us 0.5. Click on that cell, G4. We want to format that cell in percentage form. So click on the percent sign in the numbers group, and then make sure you increase the number of decimal places to 2. So it should read 50.00%. All right, next we're going to click on cell I4, summary of categories. All right, so on this right-hand side of the table, we're going to summarize all the different categories from column B. So we're going to be using a couple of functions here, the if function and the count if function. The count if function counts the number of cells in a certain range that meet a certain criteria. So we're going to ask this function, if the category is the first one in this column, then our function is going to return the name of that category. If that category has already been repeated, then we're going to put a blank, all right, on the returning cell. So I'm going to type the formula first since it's quite long, and then I'm going to explain it part by part. So here we want to type the equal sign, then type if, open parentheses. We're going to use the count if function, open parentheses. All right, the first argument of this function is the range. So here we want to use range B4. I'm going to make that an absolute reference. So I'm going to put my mouse in front of the B and press the function F4. That puts the dollar sign in front of the B and in front of the 4, right? So it's now that is now an absolute reference. That means it's not going to change once I copy that formula down. That's the beginning of my range column. To put the end of the range, we want to end it in cell B4 right now. However, we're going to leave that as a relative reference so that when I copy that formula down, the next cell is going to be B4 to B5, and in the next one it will be B4 to B6. That range will keep increasing as we copy that formula down. All right, so that's my range, comma. Now the criteria. What is the criteria that we want this to meet? We want it to be to that first category, so B4. And we're going to close parentheses. That's the end of our count if function. So if we count the number of cells that meet this criteria, and that number is equal to 1, meaning that this is the first time that this category appears on this list, so equals 1, comma, in the if function, the next argument is the value that the function should return when this if statement is true. So if this is true, we want our function to return the name of that category, so B4 again, comma, and now we want to put the value that the function will return if this statement is false. And we want a blank space. So in order to do that, we put open quotation marks, close quotation marks with nothing in between. That's going to give me a blank. So we're going to close the parentheses. All right, so this first cell should give me the value A. That should be my result. Let's press enter and see what happens. All right, it does say A. Now, stop here for a second. Don't do this step that I'm about to show you. I just want to experiment with this particular function so to show you how it works. So let's say that our next category in the category list was another A. Now this is no longer a unique category, right? Because we already have an A category. So I'm going to go to column I and I'm going to copy that formula down. What value is my function returning? A blank, right? Because that category has already been repeated. But what if that second row is a new category? Let's say B, right? And now we press enter. Now look at what my function is returning. It's returning that new category B because it's the first one in that list. All right, so we're going to delete that. We're going to delete the other cell as I was just experimenting, right? This is where you stop. So now you can rejoin me. Our next step is step 4. We're going to start calculating the 2021 totals. So here what we want to do is we want to calculate the totals for 2021. So both the in-office and the online premiums if the values belong to this particular category, category A in our case, right? So again, I'm going to type the long formula and then I'm going to explain what I'm doing. So press the equal sign, sum, if, in open parentheses, we want to do B4 with a dollar sign in front of the letter and the number to fix that formula. And we're going to do this to B100. We want to apply this particular formula to the first 100 rows. So I'm going to put F4 in front of the B and the 100. We want to fix that entire range, comma. We want I4, so that's the criteria. We want this to be equal to that particular category, which is on cell I4, comma, and now we have the sum range. Where is Excel going to find the values that it needs to add up? We want this to be the 2021 in-office premiums. So I'm gonna say D4 to D100, and I'm going to fix those two references, D4 and the D100. All right, so it should read $D, $4, colon, $D, $100. Now we're going to go ahead and close that parentheses. All right, so this is returning the sum of the 2021 in-office premiums for all of those rows that have a category A. But we also want the 2021 online premiums. So I'm going to press plus, sum, if, open parentheses. Here my range is the same, B4, fix it, to B100. We want to make it an absolute reference, comma. We want I for our category, comma. All right, and this time our sum range should be column F, right? The 2021 online premium. So we want F4, fix it, to colon F100, also fixed. All right, and we press the equal sign. All right, so let's see what value should this function return. So since this first row has category A and it meets the criteria, we're looking for all of those entries that have a category A. We're going to add up columns D and F. So we have a value of 2 in column D and a value of 4 in column F. So it should add them up, 2 plus 4, and it should give me a 6. Let's see if it works. Press enter. All right, and we get a value of 6. Perfect. We're going to format that cell. So click on cell J4, and we're going to apply a comma formatting and no decimal places. So reduce it to 0. Next, we're going to change the sheet tab name. So click on that sheet. It says sheet 1, so we want to make it something that is a little bit more descriptive. We're going to change that to the name of the company, Mayor Insurance. All right, and then right click on it because we're going to change the tab color next. So right click to display the menu, click on tab color, and we want orange accent 3. That should be on the first column. Orange accent 3. Perfect. All right, so now we're ready to save our template. Now, when we save a template, it's very similar to saving a regular worksheet, with the difference that as file type, instead of entering a regular Excel file, we're going to use a different type of file called an Excel template. So let's go ahead and click cell A4 to position our mouse in that current cell, and then we want to click on the Save button either on the Quick Access toolbar, or since I have already saved this file, I'm going to go to File to display the Backstage view, and here I'm going to click on Save As. All right, so we want to change the name of this file first, so click on that first box. You can delete what you have, and the name of the file should be SC_EX, all capitals, _7 for module 7, _MI, the name of the company, sales with a capital S, analysis with a capital A, template with a capital T. All right, we also want to change the file type, as it said. It is currently set to an Excel workbook, which is an extension XLSX. But scroll down through that list and search for that Excel template. There it is. The extension should be XLTX. All right, so click on it and then make sure that you save it somewhere where you can later retrieve this file, right? If you are in your own computer, save it on a special folder that you may have. If you're in a computer lab or the library, make sure that you save it into a flash drive. So I'm going to click on Browse here to make sure that I have it in the folder that I want. All right, I'm Finance 101. I want to save it in module 7. So I'm going to click Save. All right, perfect. And at this point, we can go ahead and close Excel. Next, we're going to learn how to open a template-based file, and we're going to save it as a workbook. So make sure that you click on your File Explorer button on the main taskbar to open your File Explorer app. As you can see, mine is already open. Go to the specific folder where you had previously saved your template. All right, so here is mine. We're just going to double click on it to open it. And once it is open, we want to save it, as I said, as a workbook. So we're going to click on the Save button in the Quick Access toolbar, and we're going to click here on More Options to display the Save As dialog box from our Backstage view. So we're going to click on Browse to display the Save As dialog box. As I said, here we want to make sure that we are in the folder where we're saving all of our projects. I have my files organized by modules, so I'm going to double click on my module 7. All right, so here's my destination folder, and we're going to modify the name. So as you can see, when we open that template-based file, Excel just created a new workbook with the exact same name, but added a 1 at the end. So this is very similar to when you open a new workbook in Excel, and the first one is given the name book 1 and the next one book 2 and so on. The same thing would happen here if I create another Excel file from that template. So we want to save the same name, except that we want to delete the template 1. So we just want it to be SC_EX_7_MI sales analysis. All right, so once we make sure we have the correct destination for our file and we have the correct number, we can go ahead and click on Save. And mine says I already exist, so I'm just going to replace it, yes. All right, next we're going to work on importing our different external sources. As we mentioned earlier, we have 4 different types of files. One is a text file, a Word file, data from a web page, and also a Microsoft Access file. So let's start by learning how to import the data from the text file. Now, text files usually have an extension called TXT, or it could also be CSV, among other options. The one that we're going to be working with here is a CSV extension file. And when text files are separated by commas, then they're called comma delimited text file, right? So a delimited text file is one in which each piece of information is reported on a separate row. And if the fields, the columns, are separated by commas, then we call that a comma delimited text file. And that is the format of the file that we have been given. So with this Mayor Insurance Worksheet active, go ahead and select cell A5. That's where we're going to import the data from the text file. We're going to click on Data on the main ribbon to display the Data tab. And here on the far left in the Get and Transform Data group, we want to select the first icon on the top left that says From Text/CSV. So click on it, and this is going to display an Import Data dialog box. So if necessary, we need to navigate to the location of the file. So here you need to remember where you save those files that MindTab provided. Mine are all in this Module 7 folder. All right, so there it is. If you can't see yours for some reason, you can always click on this drop-down menu and make sure that you have text files or all files, and this will show you the file that you're looking for. All right, so we are importing support EX7 branch 82410. Once you've located the file, click on it and press Import. All right, so a new box will open up. And here, as you can see, we have the data imported nicely in columns. It looks like a table. We're going to click Load To on the bottom. Click on that arrow next to Load, and we want to select Load To. All right, so here we want to select Table, which is the default. Other options are a pivot table report, pivot chart, or only create connection. We want to save it as a table, and we want to make sure that it's on the existing worksheet, and we want to start on cell A5, right? So that's what we have in that box, A5 as an absolute reference, right? So we can now press OK. And as you can see, we have created a table with the data that we imported from that text or CSV file. Now, because this new data is formatted as a table, it's going to have specific features, right? As you can see, we have those drop-down menus next to each column, and we also have banded rows. So we want to make sure that we remove some of these table features. So first, go ahead and point to that queries and connections area, the specific green bar here, so you can see more details about the data. You can experiment that. Once you're ready with that, you can go ahead and close the queries and connections pane just to get it out of the way, and we have more space to work with. So make sure you click somewhere on the table, and then on the main ribbon, click on Table Design. We want to remove the check mark in the banded rows, and then also we want to remove the check mark under header row. All right, just click OK. So we have removed those headers, and next we want to delete row 5. We have that extra row, so I'm going to right click on it to display that drop down menu, and then we can just go ahead and delete it. Now, because the imports change the column widths, we're going to select columns B to G, and we're going to readjust that width. So right click on the headers, click on column width, and we want to change that to 15. Press OK. All right, so now we have more space in each of these columns. Our next step is learning how to format this new data, right? There are several text formatting options. You may want to look at table 7.1 to learn more about several functions that are really useful. One that I often use is the concatenate function, which allows you to merge two cells that have text. So for example, let's say that I have a database that has names, first name on one column and last names in another column. And maybe I only want to have one field with the name with the format last name, comma, first name. So I can use the concatenate function to merge those two columns into one. Today we're going to work with the trim function. So select cell B11, and type the equal sign trim using the trim function, open parentheses, B5. So we want to trim this set of entries. As you can see, auto, health, home, life, and other, all those categories, they don't look very aligned. There are some of these rows that have an extra space in front of the word. So we want to make sure that we format that nicely so that they're all properly aligned. All right, so type trim, open parentheses, B5, and we're going to close parentheses, and then we'll press enter on the formula bar. All right, so as you can see, this is giving me this output auto, which is the same as cell B5, but now there's no space in front of it. All right, so we can go ahead and copy this formula down. So drag your fill handle on the bottom right corner. We want to drag it from cell B11 all the way down to B15. All right, so now we should get each of these categories, but they're all aligned on the left. There are no funny spaces in between. All right, next, with that range B11 and to B15 still selected, we're going to press Control Copy. We want to copy the cells into that range B5 to B9, right, to remove the ones that are not formatted nicely. So once you press Control C to copy, we want to right click on cell B5, and here we don't want to use Control V because that will paste the formulas with the trim function. We don't want to do that. We want to use the paste special option to only paste the values, right? So to access the paste special options, we're going to right click on that cell B5. This is displaying our shortcut menu, and here we can go to the paste special areas, and the one for pasting values is the second icon, the one that looks like an 1, 2, 3. So we're going to click on that. All right, and now we can go ahead and delete the data that we just copied and pasted, and we can experiment by looking at these different categories to make sure that none of them have a space, and they also don't have that trim function, right? Because we only pasted the values. So go ahead and save your work. We are now ready to import the data from our second branch, which is a Microsoft Access file. So an Access file is just a kind of database, and it has a very similar structure to an Excel worksheet. The rows are going to represent different records and the columns represent different fields. Now, make sure that you have this source file already saved somewhere in your computer. Mine, I have saved all of the source files in this folder called Module 7 on my hard drive. This one in particular is from branch 34927. As you can see, I already have it on my computer, and you can see under file type that is a Microsoft Access database. So make sure, as I said, that you have it saved on your computer before you complete this next step. So let's go ahead and select cell A10. That's where we're going to import our data. Now, usually when we import data from an Access file, the complete table is imported. But if we want to edit the data or query the data before importing it, we can use a tool in Excel called a Power Query. So that's what we're going to do in this case. We're going to use that specific tool as we want to edit the data before importing it. All right, so once you're in cell A10, go ahead and click on the Data tab on the main menu. And here we want to go to the far left to the Get and Transform Data group. We're going to click on Get Data. This will display a menu of different options. We want to select From Database. And then here we have a list of different databases. We want to use the second one, From Microsoft Access Database. All right, so click on that. This will display the Import Data dialog box. And as you can see here, I already have my Module 7 open with the file that I need to import. You may need to navigate to the specific folder where you have your data. When you find it, go ahead and double click on it. All right, so once you double click on this file, you'll see there are different tables from this database display on the left. There may be multiple tables. In this case, our database has only one. So if I click on it, I'm going to see the data displayed as a preview on the right-hand side. Now, as I said, there may be more than one table, and if there are multiple, we can only import one at a time. So it's important to select the one that you want to import. Next, in our next step, we're going to edit this table before we import it. So we want to delete one of the columns. Policy numbers is not something that we need to import. So we're going to use our Power Query tool in order to edit the table and delete that specific column. So let's go ahead and click on Edit, right? In our textbook, it'll say Edit. In this version, I have Transform Data, which is the same. So click on that, which allows you to, as I said, edit your table. And once we can see it, we're going to go ahead and click on that column that we want to delete. And on our Home tab, we can go ahead and click on Remove Columns. All right, so that, as you can see, remove that particular column. Next, we're going to click on Close and Load on the far left. Click on that arrow, and this will display this menu with two options, Close and Load or Close and Load To. We want to choose that one, Close and Load To. This will close the Power Query editor and will open the Import Data dialog box. So here we want to make sure that we're importing this as a table. We want to click on Existing Worksheet and make sure that you have that specific cell A10 written there, right, with a $sign in front of the A and a $sign in front of the 10. So it's an absolute reference. All right, so now we can go ahead and press OK. And this will import our data onto our main worksheet. So next, it's time to format our Access data. With cell A10 selected, go ahead and click on the banded rows and checkbox. So you're on your Table Design tab, and here we're gonna check on that banded rows so that we remove that check mark. Right? We're trying to remove some of these table features. We're also gonna click on the header row check mark, right, to remove it as well. You're going to get this dialog box and you want to say yes. All right, so that removed all of those table features. Our next step would be to delete this empty row that we have here. So click on row 10, right click, and then just delete that row. Go ahead and save your work. And you can close the Queries and Connections pane on the right hand side by clicking on that X. Let's go ahead and import the data from our third branch. Now, the third branch reported its data as web data, and websites use a file extension called HTML. Now, HTML is just the language that software developers use to create or edit web pages. And Excel has the capability to import data directly from a web page or from an HTML file. We're going to be using a tool called a web query in order to import the data and edit it before we paste it into Excel. Now, let me show you where I have stored this HTML file that was provided by MindTab. So it's in the same folder, and as you can see, is an HTML document on the file type, and the name is branch 70635. So make sure you have it on your computer before you complete this step. Let's go ahead and click on cell A15. Here we're going to go and click on the Data tab. And on the far left in the Get and Transform Data group, we want to click on the From Web button. It's on that first column right in the middle. All right, so this is going to display a box with the URL address. Here we can type the web address where we're getting the data from, or in our case, we need to type in the path with the location of the file, right, the HTML file. So you can type here, as I said, the complete paths, C, for example, for C drive, colon, and then the names of folders and subfolders in which I have saved my file, all separated by backslashes, and then ending with the file name at the end. An easier alternative here is if I go to my File Explorer application, I can just look for the file that I want to import. I'm going to right click on it, and here there should be an option called Copy as Path. So click on that, go back to your Excel worksheet, click on that URL box and press Ctrl V on your keyboard. As you can see, there's a little yellow warning sign, and that's because the path was copied in quotation marks. We want to eliminate those quotation marks. So go ahead and delete them from the end. The file name should finish in .html. That is the file extension. And then I'm also deleting the open quotation marks right before my C drive. All right, so once your path is ready and completed, press OK. This is going to display our navigator dialog box. Here, if necessary, click on the table that you need. So Mayor Insurance branch 70635 is the one we want to import. And here there are two tabs at the top, the table view and the web view. We want to select web view. All right, so as you can see, the data looks a little bit different. First of all, the first column here is called category, so there's no branch column. And also the categories are out of order. They're not in alphabetical order. And the numbers also seem different. They're all centered. They're not right aligned as they are in the rest of our worksheet. So we're going to edit this by clicking on either Edit or Transform Data on the bottom right. All right, so I click on Transform Data, and this is going to allow me to edit my table. So here are the steps. With the first column selected, our category column, make sure that you're on the Home tab and go to the Sort area. We want to click on Sort Ascending so that they are sorted in alphabetical order. Then we're going to click on the column heading in the second column and press Shift on your keyboard and click on the 2021 online column, so the very last column. This is going to select all four columns together, all the ones that have numerical values. Here we're going to click on Data, and in the Transform group, the first option here says Data Type. So click on that drop-down menu, and we want to select Whole Number. All right. Go to the far left, click on Close and Load, click on that arrow. This is going to display those two options. We want to choose Close and Load To. So that closes the web query window or dialog box and opens this other Import Data dialog box. We want to make sure that the table option is selected, and also in the Where do you want to put the data question, we want to select Existing Worksheet, right? We're pasting it into our existing worksheet. Now, typically here we leave this to column A15 in this case, but in this particular case, we don't have data for the first column, for the branch column. So we actually want to change this to a B15 as an absolute reference with a $ in front of the B and in front of the number 15, right? All right, so once you have changed that cell reference to B15, we're going to press OK. And that's going to copy our data. As you can see, our first branch column, column A, is empty. We started copying the data in cell B15. Now, it looks very much like an Excel table, so we need to eliminate some of those table features. So go ahead and select cell B15, and we're going to click on the banded rows checkbox. So go to your table design tab, click on banded rows to remove that check mark. We also want to go to the header row and click on that box to remove that check mark. You're going to get this dialog box that says, do you want to continue? Press yes. All right, so we've eliminated those table features. Now, row 15 is empty, so click on it and delete it. Right click, delete. That moves your data up. And now we're going to fill in the first column, the branch column. So click on cell A15. We want to enter the number of our branch, 70635. So type that number in, press enter. We're going to click on that cell again, and we're going to drag and fill that handle all the way down to A19. So that's going to copy that branch number all the way from A15 to A19. Now you can go ahead and close that queries and connections pane on the right hand side. And once again, go ahead and save your work. Finally, we're going to import the data from the fourth and last branch. This branch provided its data as a Word file. Now, to copy a Word file to an Excel worksheet, there are two options. We could save the Word file as a text file with a TXT extension and simply import it from a text file to Excel, as we did with branch number 1. An alternative is to just copy the information in the Word document and paste it into Excel. But there are a few things that we're going to have to deal with. First of all, we may need to transpose our data if the rows and columns are switched. We may need to separate columns if sometimes when we copy into Excel, the columns are pasted together. And then we may need to also move some data out of the way, as when we copy from text to columns and we separate or split the data, we may need additional space to accommodate the new column. So we're going to see an example. We're going to apply all of these things. So go ahead and select cell A30, scroll down if necessary. Now, why am I starting on A30? Well, I'm going to paste the data here exactly as I have it on the Word file. We're going to modify the data, and then once it's ready, we're going to paste it into cell A20. All right, so go ahead and start Word and open your file, or you can go to your File Explorer application, look for the file in that respective folder, and just open it up. All right, so mine is this Word document that says 18624 is the branch number. I'm going to double click on it to open my Word file. All right, here we're going to select rows, columns 2 through 6. So notice that the data is in a slightly different format here, right? Our column headers are in the rows and vice versa. So we're going to need to transpose this data. All right, so we're going to select all the numerical values from column 2 to column 6. And notice that I didn't select the column 1, the headers, the row headers. So once I have my selection, press Ctrl C, Ctrl copy in your keyboard, close your Word document, open Excel, go to your taskbar. You should still have that spreadsheet open. Make sure that you're still on cell A30. And here we're going to press Ctrl V. All right, so we've pasted the data. Now it still looks like the rows and the columns are the wrong way around. So now we need to transpose our data. Now, why didn't we do it when we copy that information directly from Word? Excel doesn't allow us to paste special using the transpose option when we transfer data from one application to another. However, within Excel, we can copy and paste our data in a transpose matrix. Right? So once we have it here in Excel, now we can go ahead and manipulate the data. All right, so with the range A30 to E34 still selected, go ahead and press Ctrl C for copy and scroll up as necessary. Click on cell A20, that's our destination cell. And here we're going to go to the Home tab. In the clipboard group, we want to click on that paste drop down menu And here we're going to select transpose. It's the one that looks like an arrow going down and one to the right. All right, so as you can see, I pasted in a transpose way, so the rows and the columns have been switched back now. All right, once we've pasted the data into the area where the data should be, we can go ahead and select A20 to A24. So the branch numbers in the first column. And as you can see, the text is wrapped. So I'm going to turn that wrap text option off. And you can find this by going to the Home tab in the alignment group, the one that looks like an ABC. Click on it to turn off that option. All right, so now the text has been put together. But as you can see, there are two columns in one field, right? The branch number and the category. We're going to need to separate that. So go ahead and delete the data in A30 to A34. That was our source data, the data that we copied. Just select it and press delete. Then to split this column, right, that is joined together, we're going to need to move all the other data to the right, one column. So go ahead and select B20 to E24. And go ahead and press Control X. Control X is for cutting. And we're going to select C20, so just one column over, and press Control V. All right, so we've moved the data out of the way. We move it one column to the right. Now we're going to go ahead and convert the text into two columns, right? The text on the current column A. So select that range A20 to A24 to prepare it for converting it from text to columns. We're going to display the Data tab. And here we want to use a text to columns in the Data Tools option. So go ahead and click on Text to Columns. This will display this dialog box that has 3 steps. So we're in step 1 out of 3. Make sure that we select Fix With, and we're going to press Next. Excel or the wizard will propose a separation right at the end of the branch number and the beginning of the category. So when I see this line here in the data preview, it looks like that's correct. That's where we want to cut the data. So we can go ahead and press Next and then Finish. All right, so as you can see now, we have the data in 2 different columns and all the columns have been adjusted accordingly. All right, our final step will be to replicate some of our formulas. So I'm going to scroll up to these formulas that we created with the percentage increase or decrease, the sum of categories, and the 2021 totals. Since we have already entered these formulas in those cells, we're just going to replicate these formulas for the other cells. So go ahead and select the location of the formula that you wish to replicate. So we want to go to cell G4, right? And we're going to drag that fill handle all the way to row 24. All right, great. Scroll up to make sure that everything copied correctly. You can even compare some of the numbers with mine or the ones in your textbook. Next, we're going to replicate the formulas for summary of categories and 2021 totals. Note that this would only go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows because we have 5 categories. It's a summary of the 5 categories. So we're going to select cells I4 to J4, so our 2 formulas there. And we're going to drag the fill handle through row 9. So only through row number 9. All right, perfect. Nice. So we have auto, health, home, life, and other. All right, and the last thing that we need to do is we can go ahead and get rid of that row with the dummy data. So go ahead and select row 4, right click on it, and press delete. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break at this point. So save your work one more time, and I'll see you in the second part of our video tutorial.